Get ready, he said. Welcome in on a Friday. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau all across the great state of Mississippi. Get on in here. I hope you will be a part of the conversation today on this Friday. We're streaming only. YouTube, Facebook, X. And you can text me as well on the Country Pleasing text line. And look, it's a free-for-all Friday. It's kind of like a, one of those ask me anything. Whatever you want to get into is cool with me today. We don't have Beav again today. He's under the weather. I'll tell you a little more about that. But at any rate, it's good to be with you here in the Bureau, Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Your home team, your hometown heroes, your local Farm Bureau insurance agents in all 82 counties around the great state of Mississippi. How about a little sonic boom to start you off? Sven, you like that? Come on. Big finish. Get on in here. I appreciate you tuning in here, online only, streaming only. But it's great, the wonders of technology and social media in 2026. And even when our radio producer Beaver has to be out because of an illness, we're able to still connect with you here on this Friday. And it's really good for me. It's therapy for me to get to talk to normal folks like you every day. For an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever it is we do. And there's some normalcy today on the show. We've got headlines for you from all over the sports world, including one, Finn, you're touching on it, and one local headline here. It popped up yesterday that you're like, how about that? So we got some headlines, some things we can discuss there. You do have, a big NFL weekend coming up. I will admit that my radar on keeping up with, every little thing about the sports schedule as it relates to NFL playoffs and other stuff has sort of taken a back seat to being preoccupied with all this icy weather that's supposed to come through here. And yes, there are some people in certain parts of the country and other parts of the world who might say, look, an inch of ice and you're freaking out about it. I know, maybe not a big deal to you. Okay. But us, it's a big deal, especially when you say, okay, if it does this, which it could mean like widespread power outages. Well, we're just not used to that kind of thing. Okay. So I've been a little preoccupied with that also, but we do have football to watch this weekend. You got basketball to tune into also, if you want to get into some of that. And like I said, there are plenty of ways for you to be a part of the show. The only thing that's different, about yesterday and today without Beaver here is that we're not on, the traditional linear radio station like we always are from 12 to 2 live on the radio in the Jackson metro area. So there's still ways to be a part of the show. Beaver, I will tell you, he's kind of been through it the last couple of days. He had a scare a couple of nights ago. He couldn't sleep, and without giving away just too many, gory, he's okay. But he was having some, tightness in his chest and shortness of breath. And he wound up, seeing a doctor who sent him to the hospital, and some tests were run and all that kind of stuff. And back home, but still experiencing some of those issues. He wound up in the emergency room. He's back home after some more tests, and, everything's okay. He's not, as I understand it, thankfully not facing anything major, that we know of right now. Nothing life-threatening, but having to deal with all that, has been unable to really get some sleep. So he's really been through it, and hoping we can get that figured out. He can get it figured out, and they can get it figured out and get him back on his feet soon. So y'all keep Beaver in your thoughts and in your prayers, because we need him. But really, we just want him to be okay. So that's why we're not on, normal radio, ESPN 105.9 The Zone yesterday and today. And then today, like yesterday, streaming only. So if you are on YouTube or Facebook or X, hey to you, feel free to just type in a comment. You pop it in there. I can see it. And then when I click it, pops up on the screen where everybody else can see it. Coming to that. You can text me. The text line, like normal, like if you're watching the stream and you just want to text me on that country pleasing text line as opposed to commenting, that's totally fine. I'm getting those too. And the number to text is 885-3776. 601 number, 885-3776. That's a country pleasing text line. Again, I've been in on that pepper jack and green onion flavor, and we got to give it its due. It is really, really special. I'd forgotten just how good it is. I hadn't had some of it in a while. Man, that pepper jack and green onion sausage is really something special. Hey, and speaking of the country pleasing text line, 3-Hump Camel, appreciate you. Sent me a picture of something that I did not know existed. Is this real? 3-Hump Camel, are you serious? Like, is this really real? Or is this an AI thing just made up to get a reaction out of people? It is a bottle not of mayonnaise, Heinz mayonnaise. It's not a bottle of Heinz ketchup. It's a bottle of a concoction of a mixture of ketchup and mayonnaise in one bottle. Now, the picture looks real. It shows a little graphic of the mayonnaise and the ketchup swirling together. The stuff that's in the bottle is not white or red. It's in between. It's kind of like a yellow. And the name on the bottle is Mayo Chup sauce. Is this real? That's one of those things I cannot wait to get Beaver back just to get his thoughts on that. And thanks, John commented on Facebook, said prayers for Beaver. Thanks, John. Jason, my man out in Arizona, Flagstaff that is, he commented on YouTube. He says, no, man, we fairly regularly get feet of snow here. An inch of ice is the worst no matter where you are. Yeah, right. Much heavier, much more dangerous, breaks limbs, brings down power lines, sticks to everything. We'll see. I think it really is kind of depends on exactly where you are. But you're trying to be prepared for it as best you can. But like, I don't care. You get, like you're saying in some places, close to 2 inches of ice coating everything by the time we get to Monday morning in some places. I don't care what kind of vehicle you have or what. You're not driving. You're not going anywhere. And it's going to tear a lot of stuff up. That may be what we're looking at. We just got to see. Got to see how it goes. Yes. Let me back up to the top. Sven is in on the live stream. He said, Hail State, we got another quarterback. Yep. We'll talk about that. And he said, I don't know why, but Rashada is our new backup. Some defensive line or offensive line guys would make me feel way better, he says. Hail State fan is asking Sven, how hot is Levy's seat? I mean, I think anything pretty much nowadays is a fair question in sports, given some of the headlines that are out there and things that are happening in college sports. But, what, are we going into year 3? I do think the reality also is, Hail State fan, if we're going to have that conversation at some point, that you got to consider kind of what he walked into, what he took over. It wasn't the smoothest of transitions, into taking something over, but yeah, still in the era of overnight roster turnover. Yeah. What did I read about? Everybody's kind of making the case that Indiana was like a super duper Cinderella story about people who were doing everything right. But I think I saw that the total money they had spent on their roster at Indiana was really close, like right there with Georgia, near the top of the country. Maybe not Texas or Oregon money, but right there, spending about the same amount on their team as Georgia spent on theirs. Then I mean, some of y'all may know. So in that era, it's kind of a matter of money and evaluation, the combination of those two things, and you can turn it around really quickly. Yeah, what Sven was saying is in Berlin, it's 7 o'clock at night over there. What did I say? 18 degrees, 3 degrees Fahrenheit. Did I have that right? Is it 18 Fahrenheit or 3? Either way. But he says it's a normal day in the office for them. Either way. Jason says that he went through that 94 ice storm. He's living in tiny Payden, a little community outside of Tishomingo. They had to live in an 𝐌𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢 motel for 2 weeks with no power to the house and couldn't get in or out, even if there had been. That's what I'm saying. You know, you get ice on the roads just right. Nobody's moving, going anywhere. You can't even walk. It's too slick to walk, much less drive. Sally on Facebook said, I missed it. What's wrong with Beaver? Beaver had a spell the last couple of days that, you know, kind of scared him, and he was having tightness in his chest and shortness of breath. It started 2 nights ago. He couldn't sleep. It scared him. Went up seeing a doctor. The doctor sent him to the hospital. He had EKGs and things like that done. Went home and kind of experienced it again. Wound up at the emergency room. He's back home, and I talked to him some, and he sounds normal, but I think the whole thing's kind of scared him a little bit. And that, you know, whether it's whatever it is, EKG stuff seems to have come back normal. We just hope that we can figure out what that is and that he'll be okay, right, and get back to feeling normal soon. But he's missed a lot of sleep and just kind of really been through it the last couple of days, and so unable to be here today. So y'all keep Beaver in your thoughts and prayers. Pray for him, get back on his feet, and be 100% real soon. 18 Fahrenheit. Okay, got it. Yeah, that's what we're going to get next week. Look, this is, let me tell you what it says for where I live. On this, I'm using a lot. It seems to do a good job. It's the Weather Underground app on my handy dandy iPhone from C Spire, the #1 network in Mississippi. C Spire, customer inspired. I will say that's one of the things that, like, if we lose power, we can keep our phones charged up. We got one of those big battery things we bought. They can charge all kinds of stuff, and we'll have C Spire signal. You know, I feel pretty good about that. Yeah, so they're saying we're going to get that icy covering Saturday and then especially on Sunday. And like 100% Saturday, 100% Sunday. So 2 days of the precipitation, the freezing rain and the sleet and all that ice and stuff falling for 2 days, Saturday, Sunday, where I live in Tupelo in North Mississippi. And then immediately after that, see, when it finally stops falling, it's getting down to 14 degrees on overnight Sunday night is what it says. And then on Monday, the high is 27, low of 10 that night. It doesn't get, at least the high temperatures is what it's saying around here. What it's predicting around here, it says the high temperatures won't get back up above freezing until Tuesday. So, you know, and then if you've got ice, I don't know how long it takes to melt everything where you can get back going around and stuff. But the other thing about it is it has just changed constantly. And it did affect, I think I saw the start time. They're moving up the Mississippi State and Vanderbilt basketball game to 11 a.m. tomorrow. And aren't they just opening the doors? And if you want to go, just walk in. Probably for local folks, because not many people are going to be driving all the way up there. Yeah, John's touching on that on Facebook. He said, will the Vandy team be able to get out of Starkville tomorrow? The SEC should have some slack in the schedule to allow for the weather. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they will be. I think that probably they're an hour from us, and probably what they're looking at is no threat of it really starting to freeze solid until on into Sunday, so maybe they can get out of there. But having the game earlier probably really helps with that, I would think. I would think that's why they did it, just to be 100% honest with you. All right, here we are Friday. Let's hit headlines.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening, and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Headlines on the show brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank right here in Mississippi. Find them online at mortgagemanms.com. Mortgagemanms.com. Anything mortgage related, that's where you want to go. Buying, refinancing. Go see Went and the team, mortgagemanms.com. Headline number one, Florida coach Todd Golden, this is basketball, said yesterday that he doesn't agree that kid should be playing for Alabama this season, the one that's coming back from the G League after signing 3 contracts up there. But then he went on to say, even if this G League player does play for Alabama when they come to Gainesville, Florida on February the 1st, he says it's not going to matter. On Gator Talk last night, Golden said, we're going to beat him anyway. If he plays, we'll beat him anyway. Shot fired from Gainesville. Here's some really sad news from the NFL. Really sad news from the NFL. Former Philadelphia Eagles defensive lineman Kevin Johnson died from blunt head trauma and stab wounds at a homeless encampment, according to a medical examiner. Los Angeles County Medical Examiner said Johnson pronounced dead Wednesday morning after being found unconscious. His death was ruled a homicide, is being investigated. He was 55 years old, a former 4th-round draft pick by New England in 1993. Spent time with the Patriots, Vikings, and Raiders before landing with the Eagles. 43 tackles, 7 sacks, returned a fumble for a touchdown in his 2 years with the Philadelphia Eagles. Played in 15 games for the Raiders in '97. Later played in some Arena League football. Investigators say they believe Johnson had been living at the encampment, the homeless encampment, at the time of his death. And friends said that he had health issues later in his life that contributed to his situation. 55 is really young. Guy who was at the top of his sport, playing in the NFL for multiple teams. 7 sacks 1 year and fumble return for touchdown, played for the Eagles, and finds himself in a homeless encampment and murdered. Former Philadelphia Eagles defensive lineman Kevin Johnson, just about as sad as it gets. As sad as it gets. Back over to the college football world, headline number 3, college football playoff to remain at 12 teams. The college football playoff is going to remain a 12-team field next year, 2026. That's according to Pete Thamel, who works for the worldwide leading acronym. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey has publicly supported a 16-team model, but the Big Ten Commissioner, Tony Petitti, would only agree to that if Sankey committed to a 24-team field after 3 years. Wanted more and more and more and more and more. No agreement. It's going to stay at 12, and there's that headline. Now, this is what Sven was referencing. This news popped up yesterday afternoon. Sacramento State transfer quarterback Jaden Rashada has signed with Mississippi State. Okay, he was a former, highly rated recruit. And if you're going to go back and remember, I think, y'all correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think he's the guy who, out of high school, had some sort of multi-million dollar, quote unquote, NIL deal from Florida, and then signed with them, and then they didn't pay him or weren't going to pay him or didn't have the money to pay him or something like that. And he got out of it. It was they let him out of the agreement, and he winds up at Arizona State or Georgia, one or the other. He was at both Arizona State and Georgia. And then wound up, I guess, the last couple of years at Sacramento State. Now he's coming to Mississippi State to, you would believe, be the backup to Camario Taylor. And that's your headlines 4 of them today. Brought to you by the Mortgage Man Group, powered by Illuminate Bank. Find them online at mortgagemanms.com. Mortgagemanms.com. So over to your comments on the live stream. If you're on YouTube or Facebook or X, you can just type a comment, post it. I'll be able to see it. We'll chat it up right there. You can also text me on the Country Pleasing text line, which is 885-3776. I'll get them. 885-3776. Able to do all this because we're staying connected to you because of C Spire. The #1 network in Mississippi is C Spire, customer inspired. Somebody texted the show and said, no doubt Indiana spent a ton of money, but 16-0 in today's world is still a huge accomplishment, I would think. No question about it. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it is undefeated in the way they were winning, the way they beat up on teams like Alabama, Ohio State. Oh, you're not taking any credit away from them at all. I just think it is true that if you listen to some people and some narratives, they'll actually try to portray it as, well, it's only because they're older guys. And little old Indiana did everything differently than everybody else. Well, they might have coached differently. They might have executed differently. But in terms of building their team, they're no different than anybody else. They spent over $20 million. What they spent on their roster is reportedly about the same what Georgia spent on theirs. So, for whatever that's worth. But, 16-0 and beat everybody and beat some of them like a drum and embarrass them. You get credit. You get all the credit for that. You did it. Sven says on YouTube, I heard rumors that LSU plans the return of Shaq to play a 4th year. Bring it on. Really, though, Sven, if we're going by precedent, what's to say he couldn't do it other than between he and LSU deciding they won't? Because what we're seeing here is that legally you can get it passed through every loophole. Based on this other guy, professional contracts and experience don't matter. What only matters is, do you have any eligibility left in college? Are you taking some classes at the school? Because if that's a yes, play. That's basically the precedent that's been set. Now, all you got to do is get a favorable judge. In Alabama's case, get you a booster who's a judge who will rule in your favor because he just will, and give you a temporary restraining order, and you play him. Really, according to the letter of the precedent set by this, you could have something as absurd as 50-year-old Shaq. How old is he? He can play a game. All you got to do is take a class. There's no age limit. Jason talking about the weathermen, too. He said, y'all take it on the easy on the weather dudes. Those things are obscenely hard to forecast. A relatively tiny line between all snow and all rain is like finding a needle in a haystack. Now, what's Jared saying? Jared says in a Jamaican accent, here is something that I know you can't believe. Finally, again, Jamaica has a bobsled team. Jamaica has a bobsled team. That was a great movie. Cool Runnings. Hale State fan says 1 in 3 of today's on-air broadcast meteorologists in the U.S. a graduate of Mississippi State's nationally recognized meteorology program, and it is. It's about right. Everyone. I'll see from all over the country, it'd be some weather person doing like an update on Facebook or something, and on the desk behind him, you'll see like a bulldog or a Mississippi State helmet. They've all come through Starkville. Sven said he does not like this thing of Rashada being at State. He said bad locker room guy, chases the money. Carrie on Facebook says, knowing you played high school football in Alabama, today the AHSAA did an earth-shattering reclassification by separating public and private schools and downsizing the public schools from 7 to 6 classes. Really? I hadn't heard anything about that, Carrie. I didn't know. I just haven't kept up with it. Let's look it up. Reclassification. What do we have? Why can't I say it? AHSAA.com. This is their website. It is labeled today, January 23rd, 2026. This is Alabama. The Alabama High School Athletic Association's Central Board of Control approved a classification system for championship play for this coming year. Well, the next 2 years, in fact. Includes a basic plan which creates 6 classifications for public school members and 2 classifications for private independent school members. The 7s class system will no longer be in effect. This board recognized the classification system, creating an opportunity for more championships being awarded in the organization's history. Remove the 1.35 multiplier assessed to private school members since 1999, and remove the competitive balance factor added to the private school teams in 2018, for whatever any of that means. Now, here's a quote. The landscape of education-based athletics in Alabama is changing, and the AHSAA must continue to adapt. After careful review and after listening to our public and private school members, the Central Board determined that now is an appropriate time to restructure championship play, resulting in restructured championships for public and private schools. This model will be implemented for the next 2 years. So without, having to go read every word of it, Carrie, Are they separating completely and utterly public and private now? Because haven't they in the last 20 years or so in Alabama, didn't they start doing the whole thing where even in some of the larger classifications, private schools would play public school sports, compete for the same championships? Are they separating that now? And is that why then you went back to 6 classifications instead of 7? Because you're taking all the private schools out of any public school competition? Is that why? Let's see. It approved the largest to be 6A since 7A was removed to include the 32 largest schools. I don't know. I'm just going to have to read more about it. I don't really understand all of it. I didn't know. That's odd. I mean, to such a large state with so many schools, and to think of how you're going to classify all of that and actually have less classifications than, say, a state like ours here in Mississippi. It's a little bit odd to me. I just can't figure it out. On the surface, I'm going to have to read a lot more about it. I don't have time, I guess, I could put everybody to sleep and read through every word of it, but I don't guess I will. Through multiple meetings with our private school members, they expressed a desire for greater financial flexibility. This model directly addresses those concerns while maintaining fair play for all. Because postseason competition will follow restructured pathways, we are now able to removing financial barriers for private school eligibility. What in the world? Why can't, here's the thing, Carrie. This is a story kind of, I guess, explaining this at the Alabama High School Activities Association website. And, buddy, I've read a good, half to 2/3 of it just now after looking this up since you messaged me, and I can't make heads or tails of what they're trying to say. It's a big old jumble of, the only info in it is we're going to 6 classifications. And other than that, there's not a whole lot spelled out in this thing. Carrie, you're saying they can still play each other in the regular season, but come playoff time, they can only compete in their own division. Okay. Private and public. Is that what you're saying? Come playoff time, there'll be no, St. James or whatever playing public schools. They will have their own separate playoff. So, but this is the thing that confuses me. And Carrie, again, I was in Alabama for the first 18 years of my life, but that was a long time ago. And I did play high school ball, but I wasn't paying attention to all this kind of stuff. But how is it that the Alabama High School Athletic Association has any say-so over what the private schools do? I didn't realize that they were in the same association, whereas like over here, we're different. Confusing, man. I appreciate you letting me know, Carrie. I didn't know. I want to read more about it and see if I can find it out. Sven, to me, that does tell you a whole lot about rankings. Someone like me would use what you're saying here as, an arrow in the quiver, so to speak. He said, by the way, guys, Indiana ranking in terms of talent was 72nd and state was ranked 24th. I mean, but according to who and what, are you talking about one recruiting class or just overall? People who rank that kind of stuff, man, really, I can't find one that I would trust. Not one who, even now, if I go back, you would, as I say this, Sven, and like Jason and a bunch who've been listening for a while, you'll be nodding going, yeah, I do remember 2-3 years ago, I'm going, listen, okay, transfer portal era now where anybody can leave. Half of all your recruiting classes are transferring out after a year. Okay. Another half of your team at the least is made up of people who didn't sign with you in the first place. And recruiting classes are guys who are now transferring in after 2 or 3 years in college somewhere else, and they're still out here, quote unquote, ranking recruiting classes. It is completely bogus. It's bogus. Bless her. It's not that. And see, you said it's according to 24/7 Sports. That's great. But the thing is, you go back 6-7 years ago where you could kind of look at the makeup of teams based on the recruiting classes. It was it was hit or miss then. Okay. But at least they kind of knew the makeup of the teams and where the guys were coming from. You're looking at one class versus the other. My thing is the last 2-3 years, Sven, first of all, what is the point of ranking anybody's recruiting class when at the very least 50% of them are going to transfer somewhere else after 1 year? Okay, so first of all, what's the point of it? Now, if you don't want to talk about that, if they don't want to talk about what the overall point of it is, and we say, well, it's just what we do, all right? Again, how are you ranking recruiting classes when it's full of guys who are coming in from other colleges? Okay, and you're ranking these guys. Okay, and we got a real clear image this year of what older kids mean on the field versus younger kids. Okay, after you watched Indiana this year, let me ask you a question. Would you rather have an offensive line full of 24-year-old, former 3-star guys, or would you rather have an offensive line full of 18 and 19-year-old 4-star guys? Well, we all know the answer. The older 3-star guys would chew them up and spit them out 100 times out of 100. And so that's the thing to me. I'm not trying to like on what somebody does for a living. And I understand that's part of their deal, but I think it's okay to question really anything. And Sven, for you, someone who is such a big fan as you are, and you really keep up with it, I would never tell you what to do, but I really would say, like, get you a magnifying glass and look at it real close, and equally look at kind of your own interest and question yourself is, why do you believe that stuff? Why would you believe that stuff? You know what I mean? And one where somebody has said that State's team was 24th in talent and Indiana's was 72nd. Well, not sure exactly what else we need. Jason said it on YouTube. He said, talent rankings don't mean squat in this area. None of them are anywhere long enough developed to really even know. He said, except Indiana, apparently. But, yeah, they didn't just beat people. They absolutely embarrassed people. Let's see. Sven said, it's the overall talent Mississippi State had on the team during the 25-26 season. Every player has a rating 2-star, 4-star, et cetera. That's the ranking. And I get it. Okay. So that's the explanation of how they're coming up with it. But I think it's pretty clear that was all wrong. You know, like if you look at the Indiana thing versus the Mississippi State thing, I think that's pretty clear. They got it all wrong. All right, let's do this. Show rolling along. We hadn't had a break since we're online only. We didn't have to take a break at 11 after or at 22 after for that matter. So we'll do that now. A little bit of a break. Word from our sponsors. I'm going to fill the cup up with some hot coffee from High Point Roasters in New Albany, Mississippi. Go to highpointroasters.com. We'll be back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. Local agents in all 82 counties. So here's what that means. You have that fender bender, hopefully you don't, but let's say you do at an odd time. Something goes on. It's Saturday night at 11 p.m. You don't have to wait until Monday morning to call some 800 number and talk to someone 3 states away. You've got your agent's phone number right there on your phone because you go to church with him. Your kids go to school together. He lives right down the road. You see each other at the ball games on Friday nights. So it's personal with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent in all 82 counties in this entire state. And if anything does arise and you need to, run it up the chain or up the flagpole, the home offices for Farm Bureau Insurance are in Jackson, Mississippi. It's right here in the state of Mississippi. It doesn't get more local than and personal, the service that you get with Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. I can't recommend them highly enough. And if you haven't, recently, let them give you a quote. Home, life, auto. That's Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Well, look at what we have here. Christmas come early. Boom. Little green onion country pleasing. That's not all. Little original smoked sausage flavor. That's not all. Jalapeno and cheddar. It has to be one of my favorite, just judging by how much of that stuff I eat. Oh, can't forget. Andouille. Don't be saying andouille, it's andouille. And last, but not least, pork and pineapple. Bun size, 3 links, bun size. Look at that right there. Be careful. Come on with it. It's mine. Come here, jalapeno. Oh, that's all mine. Country pleasing sausage. We'll be right back after this message from C Spire. My name is Matt Wyatt. I host the Matt Wyatt radio show out of my home using C Spire fiber.
And when we hit the road as a family, Matt's show goes with us, thanks to C Spire Wireless.
Its ultra-reliable nationwide network lets me broadcast live from anywhere.
And never miss a moment that matters.
Connecting you to what inspires you most on C Spire's blazing fast 5G network. And right now, get your choice of free phone. That's customer inspired. That's C Spire.
Y'all like coffee? I know you do. Check it out. Little High Point Roasters from New Albany, Mississippi. That is the breakfast blend. It's a whole bean. And if you notice, that's how much I've had already. Brazil Oberon. Not Ogeron or Orgeron, you LSU. No, Brazil Oberon. That ain't all. What we got there? What flavor is that? Papua New Guinea grade AA. Bring it on. High Point Roasters, New Albany, Mississippi. Roasted right there. That's whole bean. One more. I got more. Ah, tried and true. Magnolia blend. High Point Roasters coffee, New Albany, Mississippi. It is the best. Single origin from all over the world. Blends that they have come up with over the years are the oldest coffee roasters in Mississippi. Get you some big 1 pound bags. You're not going to run out anytime soon. Go to highpointroasters.com and stay caffeinated. All right, back with you. Thanks for hanging on there through the break. Staying caffeinated. I'm Matt in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau, go with the home team. They are your home team. Appreciate y'all being here. Yep, it's all good now. Look, if you are a regular listener, you know that on Fridays we try to end the week, in the show and in the week the right way. Got a shorter show today, not on live radio. Wishing Beaver to get well. Appreciate y'all being here today and everybody that's commenting on the live stream, from Sven and Jason and Jeremy and Chris. By the way, I saw you earlier, Chris, on YouTube. He gave me a Hail State Friday in all caps. And Carrie and Hail State fan, everybody, appreciate y'all being here. We're going to finish the week and finish the show the right way now with Bible questions with my friend Terry Fant, the pastor at Hickory Ridge Baptist Church in Florence, Mississippi, on your radio right now. I'm trying to unmute his mic. So there he is. Terry, you got me?
I got you.
All right, great.
You got me?
Yep, got you loud and clear. And the beauty, I started to say the beauty of technology. The problem is it's us. So we might just say the miracle of technology or the wonders instead of the beauty of technology. All right. So Terry, I wanted to get you on. I thought we could talk a little scripture today and take a look at it and get you to help us read it and maybe understand it and think and contemplate. We got a big storm coming. I mentioned at the start of the live stream today that I probably been a little preoccupied almost with getting ready, trying to have at least a chance for our family to kind of, make it through the storm without freezing and all that kind of stuff, and have enough to eat and making sure we got the gas going to the logs in there in case the power goes out, sometimes we get ready for a storm. So I haven't really paid as close attention to what time the games are starting and when and all that. So we got this storm. There's a whole lot of us thinking about it. And, in this case, it's a winter storm, an ice storm. But I thought about this story in the Gospels about a storm that Jesus initially himself is sleeping through. Hey, and real quick too, just off the top of my head, as we were talking about this earlier, it's interesting. I don't know, there may be people listening that don't realize that, like, I can open my Bible and read about this story we're going to see here in the Gospel of Mark. Okay. He recorded and wrote it, but the other Gospels, Matthew and Luke and they recorded and reported the same stories, didn't they? This one.
They did. Yeah.
So, there's some continuity there. All right. So let's do this, Terry. I'm going to pull this scripture up and put it on the screen and look at this story first, and then we'll kind of go. All right, here it is, and I'll read it. Mark chapter 4, this is 35 through 41. On the same day when evening had come, he said to them, "Let us cross over to the other side." Jesus said that. let's cross over to the other side. Now, when they had left the multitude, they took him along in a boat as he was, and other little boats were also with him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat so that it was already filling. But he was in the stern, asleep on a pillow. And they awoke him, and he said to him, Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing? Then he arose and rebuked the wind, said to the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. But he said to them, Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? And they feared exceedingly and said to one another, Who can this be that even the wind and the sea obey him? All right, so there's the way that Mark wrote about it. What jumps out at you, Terry? What are some of your thoughts as we read?
So many things, Matt. You know, you and I talked about earlier today. It's just like Jesus, that he's teaching them about mustard seed faith, and you know how he's able to do anything if they'll trust him, and it's kind of like when you're in the well, in our day it was film room some, but it was the old chalkboard. You know, you're in there with your position groups, and they're drawing up the plays, but you can't win or lose right there, right? I mean, you have to go out and see if you learn to play. And so now he's taking them out to the field, if you will, to see if they've got the principle of what it really means to believe. And he, like you said, man, he's in there asleep on a pillow. He's just chilling because he is fully confident in who he is, right? But they're interestingly enough about them, and they're still formulating in their mind who he is.
Right.
You know, that they'll say it. Now, if you ask them, they'll say, "Oh yeah, he's the Lord of, he's God's son." But then when he does something like this, they're like, "Man, who is this?"
What is this? You know, that's right. And am I right, Terry? Like if you read, whether it's in Mark or Luke, leading up to this event, he'd already in their presence and right before their eyes performed miracles and things that just the only explanation is that he is God. Okay,
yeah, things that would
be the only explanation.
Yeah, things that would just make you scratch your head and pause and really wonder if what you just saw is really what you just saw.
Yeah.
And you're right, man. They have seen it several times, as a matter of fact, you know.
Yeah.
But
right.
just like us, you know, I think we were talking about this too earlier, that oftentimes in our own lives, man, God will do something great in our life, and faith will increase, and then some new diagnosis, some new challenge, you know, some new hardship, and we start panicking, like this storm, you know, we panic,
right?
Buy up all the bread.
I was in the grocery store today, and I didn't need to buy milk, but I was in the vicinity of where the milk is in the Kroger here in Tupelo, and a lady was there who we know as friends, and she was kind of passing by too, and we said hello, and then I looked and pointed at that, you know, the cooler where all the milk usually is, and she went like this. I said, "It's a good thing you don't need some of that, because they ain't right in there." You know, it's all gone. Because we think a storm might be coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've been through storms, and you know, I think there's probably a certain amount of responsibility to kind of be prepared for it. But that's the other thing too. This particular storm is they're in a boat.
Yeah.
Okay. They're on the water. Mark in his gospel here, the scripture we just read said that the boat was already filling up.
Oh,
That's in
man.
verse 37. Windstorm, waves beat into the boat so that it was already filling.
Man.
And then, okay, so it's that kind of storm. And then it says, but he, Jesus, was in the stern asleep on a pillow. You know, so I'm thinking, Terry, what kind of peace does a person have to be able to do that?
Man, you know, man, I'm certain you've probably been in a boat sometime when water started coming in, and it's a terrible feeling. A couple of different times with me, we got out one time, and the guy I was fishing with, you know, he had just gotten the boat, and you know what happens a lot of times when you hadn't had a boat, you get a boat, you forget that plug and what have you. Man. and we were just in a big lake, and there've been times I've been down on the reservoir. We've got a big pontoon, and man, when you get waves that come over the front of that pontoon, you got a situation.
That's
But
right.
I'm thinking these guys were fishermen. They knew what happens when the guy goes overboard or when their boat sinks. They die, they drown.
Mhm.
And then you've got Jesus in there who has this faith to know that everything is at his beck and call. Everything has to obey him, and yet they have not quite wrapped their mind around that truth. There's
I think Terry broke up there for a minute. We'll see if we can get him back. I'll tell a story while I'm waiting to see if Terry's connection can get back with us. True story. This is many, 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 many years ago. 26? So 24 years ago, maybe 24, 25 years ago. I had gotten a boat. It was used. I was fishing all the time, fishing tournament stuff. And I had gotten an old boat. It wasn't a great boat. And it wasn't very big. Let me go back and see if I can guess on this. I'm going to say, I think we got Terry back now. Terry, you back? That's okay. I was telling the story while I got you back. This has been about 24, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I was fishing tournaments, and I had gone and gotten a used boat. It was about all I could afford. It was not great. Okay. And it was not very, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of about 17 feet. And it might've had like a 120 old, Johnson outboard motor on it, but I was kind of proud of it. It had decks and a trolling motor and everything. And, I convinced some friends of mine, I think it might have even been a holiday, like a Memorial Day, to go with me to Bay Springs. Okay. And we put the boat in and we all got in it. It was 4 of us, 4 adults, and I'm driving. We put it in, and we get in it, car's parked. We start pulling away from the boat ramp. We're leaving the little slough that the boat ramp was in. And before we even get out of there, I realized there's way too much weight in this boat. And water is starting to come over the back of this thing. We've got a plug in it. It's just we're too low. And as this outboard is plowing, it's sinking the back of that boat down, and water's coming in. And there wasn't anything we could do about it. And so we'd already let enough water in. We weren't even that far from the boat. And enough had come in the back. Well, all I could do, Terry, we were close enough to the opposite bank. There was a little sandbar over on the opposite bank of we could see the boat ramp. It's just we were closer to it. And I had to pull over onto that little sandbar real quick and tell them to get out so that this thing could level out and I could pump the water out before we get, back in it. And you talk about a helpless and dumb feeling. We hadn't gone 50 yards. We're now on the opposite bank of the boat ramp. I can see it, but we can't walk back to the boat ramp because it would have been taking us 3 miles to go around the edge, And so anyway, I remember that feeling of, boy, when water's coming in,
oh man,
regardless of the cause, when water's coming in, it gets serious real quick.
Yeah,
and the idea of having the kind of peace that you might even be sleeping and then stand up, take care of it just like this, no worry whatsoever, and then say to everybody else, what are you afraid of?
Self-problem.
What are you worried about?
Think about this too. He one of the things we see that, man, when fear overcomes our faith, when we're letting fear run the show, they even begin to question, does he care for them? Now think about it. Of course, I mean, and think about times in our life when we face hardship. Our question that we have in our mind is usually why, and then the next thing is God? Do you even care that I'm going through this down here? And it's when we've let fear creep in and begin to overwhelm that faith that we start questioning. How could we ever question the God who wouldn't spare his only son? But man, we'll do it. I'm telling you, we will.
Yeah. Well, and like you say, the disciples there, that's in verse
in verse 38.
38, yeah.
Yeah.
38. And they said to him, do you not care that we are perishing? after everything they'd seen. So when you think of it like that, well, no wonder, once he did what he did, he speaks to this storm and tells it to be still, and then it is. And then immediately says to them, "Where is your faith?"
Mm.
So a different kind of peace. You shared this verse with me earlier, Terry, John 14, verse 27.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus said this. So in my Bible, the letters would be red, where he spoke, and it said, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." Well, there's a lot in that verse, isn't it?
My goodness. A couple of things to notice is that he says, it's very interesting to me that he would say, "Not as the world gives, do I give it." So we can determine from that, Matt, that the world does, there's naturally a measure of peace. The problem with is that it's only on the mountaintops or maybe the plateaus, right? The problem is, well, how much of life is full of mountaintops and plateaus?
Well, certainly not all of it.
Not all of it. And so the world's peace says, hey, as long as everything's okay, I'm at peace.
Mm-hmm.
But I've even thought about it this way too. Sometimes the world says, and we can talk about these too, but there's other things that we do. Hey, if you'll have this drink, you can have peace, or if you'll put these drugs in your body, or if you'll, whatever's all kind of overeat, whatever. The peace will be there. The problem is it just won't last.
Mm-hmm.
It's fleeting. And if it comes in a bottle, good night, you got to have another one.
Yeah. Right.
And
Yeah.
so, but he says, I give you a peace. It's not like that. It's not, it doesn't come in doses. It comes, the more you get to know me, it comes in a way that you can have it even when you're in the darkest valley or a great ice storm, if you will.
Yeah. So you ever known people or known a person who they had that kind of peace or displayed it, and you went, man, how can they be that way? Like in the middle of what they're going through or in the middle of what's happening, how can they seem to be so at peace with all this?
Yeah. You if you notice, even in your own life, if God grants it to us at times, and I think it's associated with how close we are walking with Him. And people sometimes will say, "Well, you just don't care," and it's like, it's not that I don't care. It's just that I've come to realize I can't stop the rain. I can't stop the wind, but the one who can lives inside me. So I mean, how does it help me to fret? And think about it this way: much as you love Mary Lydia, you don't want her fretting and anxious, and especially when there's no need to, because he's the one who can control the wind and waves.
Yeah, it really does put the onus on, okay, where are you really placing your trust? Not what you say you are, but where you really are, what's your trust really in?
Come on now.
And then do you really believe what you say you believe? Like I can say what I believe, but do I really?
I've heard you say this so many times, man. It is so true. You say either you believe it or you don't. Either you believe it or you don't.
And when it really gets down to it, the whole idea of the Lord kind of knowing your heart, there's really you don't have to say it.
No.
If you really want to get down to it, somebody could watch me like a Charlie Chaplin movie, a silent movie. They can tell if I believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Two
things that, we would call this storm, we would fit into the category of adversity, right?
Yeah.
And adversity does two things. It reveals the true condition of our heart, and I want you to share about that, the quote that you shared with me earlier today.
Yeah. The Bear Bryant quote, and I looked it up, found it, and then went and posted it on social media. I'm going to see if I can find it right here. The Bear Bryant quote was, "I make my practices real hard because if a player is a quitter, I want him to quit in practice, not in a game."
Mm. So his principle, think about it. He's taking this same, really a biblical principle. I'm going to apply adversity and find out the true condition of their heart, so that I don't have to find out the true condition of their heart is a quitter in the middle of a very important, contest for him.
Right.
Man, it's so true. And the other thing is this: it reveals to us not only our own condition, our true condition, our heart, but it also helps us to get to know Him better. the more of those times me and you get put in, the more we come out the other side going, wow, he really is with me. He really is with me.
Right. So fair to say then, what we're saying is like these disciples in this boat, in this situation, and they're sinking. He's asleep. Lord, do you even care? They see him tell the storm to stop, and it does. And then he says, where's your faith? That adversity, it's actually giving them an opportunity to grow their faith through it.
Yes.
So it's actually a gift is what it is.
Oh, come on now. Come on. And now because now, I mean, how else are they going to know that he can do that unless they're put in a position where he has to do that and they're able to see it? And I think, like you said, I think he allows us to experience some of that. You know, someone asked me one time, why, like in the book of Job, why would God allow suffering and difficulty? Adversity is going to cause some level of suffering, whether it's emotional or physical. And the answer is to show us our dependence, that we need to know that we are dependent, and the one we depend on can do it. You know, they wouldn't know that until he said, you know, that word peace literally translates be quiet and be still.
Right.
Like you tell your kid when they were little, be quiet and be still. And then the sea's like glass and there's no wind, you know, man, after that, things ought to change in how you view him.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, you know, you start on, you know, what we have here, and that is the report of what he did in this boat. Multiple people were there. Multiple people wrote about it who were eyewitnesses to it. Okay. Here we are 2,000 years later. We can read it because we have that scripture in front of us. Okay. We can start to understand it because we have the Holy Spirit that teaches it to us. Right. And the entire thing, like, what is it pointing to? Okay. So then if I go, well, what's the point of it? All right. Well, he can do this, and he can calm the storm if he wants to, and he can give me peace. He said that in John 14, but the whole thing really, Terry, if we take it one step further, it's all driving it towards salvation. I mean, that's what it really, everything about Jesus is actually driving towards that. It's like, cause you said, learning that he's the one who's going to calm the storm, not you. Okay. Well, what does the Bible say? You're saved by grace through faith, not of works, that not of yourselves. Right. Okay. So it's all tied into the idea that right on down to the ultimate, which is salvation. Okay. And forgiveness of our sin. There ain't a thing we can do. He's going to do it. And he's the only one who can do it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it was Charles Spurgeon who said, you and I can no more enter the kingdom of heaven with good works than we could make it to the moon climbing on a rope made out of sand. And you think about the impossibility, but yeah, it's all about showing us. Well, think about it this way. So the storm showed them their inadequacy. If you, like you're talking about the big picture, the law showed us our inadequacy. Same thing. And when we find out that, hey, we can't do it, but wouldn't you agree with me? The hardest struggle for the human condition is letting go of the wheel.
Yeah.
And taking your hand off the throttle and trust and said, okay, I'm not going to be the pilot. Matter of fact, I can't even be the co-pilot.
Yeah.
I got to go back here and sit sit in my seat and trust Jesus to save me, and then practically help me in my life, get me where I need to be.
Yeah. So what, you know, Jesus says to those disciples in the boat in that storm, where's your faith? What are you afraid of? After he's been woken up from sleeping and tells the storm to be still, and it is. So what should have, perfect world, perfect response of faith? What should those disciples, what should have their reaction have been? He's asleep, water's coming in. Is it one of those of really, I mean, you can wake him up, okay, but really it's a deal of the heart. It is, I'm not worried about this. Lord, here we are. Is it sink or swim? And it's up to you. You know, like, what should the response have been?
Yeah, you're right. Because what they say is, wake up, wake up. Don't you even care about us? Well, that's a terrible response. There's not, like you said, of course it's okay to wake him up, but it ought to be, now, Lord, we know that you love us. So should we jump out and swim, or are you gonna do something? And, you just tell us and we'll follow.
Right.
But you're right, man. It's about, they responded by saying, don't you even care?
Yeah.
And then I love what you brought up there when he says that in verse 40. How is it that you have no faith?
Mm-hmm.
And now he already knows the answers to all the questions.
Yeah.
He's asking that question for them to really think back over their lives, and specifically the little bit of time they've been walking with him and what they have seen, and ask themselves the question, now really, how is it that I'm going to let this ice storm really make me panic? How is it that I'm really going to let this cancer, and that's a big issue. Now, I'm not diminishing that, but how am I going to let this cancer cause me to lose my joy and be anxious all the time, if I really believe that he does love me and he has the power to bring it, do whatever he wants to do in it?
Mm-hmm. 100%. Well, and yeah, ice storm coming, financial storm coming,
Yeah.
health storm coming, whatever it is. How much
marital
more,
storm.
right? Marital storm.
Yeah.
How much more do I need to see before I will go, I trust you.
Yeah.
I'm good. I
Yeah.
trust you. How much more? That's kind of, I think about, after the resurrection, what was it he said to Thomas? Thomas, you believe because you've seen.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, blessed are those, who believe and have not seen.
Have not yet seen. Oh, yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's amazing how it all ties together. All right. For
And
those,
sometimes I always like to throw this little point in too. We have to be mindful. Here, me and you are sitting, and we have the Holy Spirit. They didn't have the Holy Spirit.
right.
Now what they did have was physical evidence. They saw with their eyes Jesus do these things. So it wasn't that they were without evidence, but man, how much more for us should we trust him? Because what he says in John 14, also, he says that, I'm going to send the helper and the Spirit of truth. And he says, him, he tells them this because he dwells with you, but he says what's about to happen, he's going to then dwell in you. And that's a game changer.
Game changer.
That's a game changer.
Yeah.
Lord, help me listen to your Spirit in times of storm and not my emotions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like this next week, if some of us here in our house, whatever, if it's day 3 or 4 and we're stuck in here and iced in.
Yeah. Yeah. Lord, help us trust you.
Help us trust you and listen to your Spirit instead
of
mine.
And if he tells me, I'll get in my 4-drum, come get you. When y'all come stay with us, if we have to,
Well, you might have to do that. Let me tell you, the last time that we got snowed in here, and it was either last year or the year before last, and I want to say it was maybe 5 days. Okay,
wow.
Where we just couldn't, because we're up on the side of a hill. You've been here, you kind of know, and we don't have the kind of vehicles that in that kind of snow we can drive out of it. So we're here at the house for about 5 days. Let me just tell you something: the homecoming queen, after 5 days, had seen all of me in this house that she could possibly stand. Fed up, whatever cabin fever to the 10th power is, that's what she had. And it was like, buddy, if that snow doesn't melt tomorrow,
I'm walking somewhere.
She's gone. She'd have walked somewhere. And so like it finally melted. But I look back on it now tickled, because she really did hit a point where she'd had enough.
She had enough.
All she could take of me. It's funny. So you may have to come get us. Well, Terry, I really appreciate it. We'll do this again soon. That's one thing about not being on the radio, is that, we didn't have to worry about getting cut off by a commercial break. Now, I don't know if that's good or bad, but that is. But appreciate you hopping on here with me. For those listening, that scripture, if you want to go read it, you can find it in Luke and in Matthew also as well. Mark chapter 4, 35 through 41 is the story about the storm and Jesus having peace during it and telling it to be still. And then the giving you peace, that's in John chapter 14, if y'all want to go read that. Terry Fant, pastor, Hickory Ridge Baptist Church, Florence, Mississippi. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Man, I appreciate you, Matt.
Yep. We'll do it again soon. Have a good one.
See you soon.
All right. And to everybody on the live stream, appreciate y'all. Thanks for the comments. interesting couple of days. We didn't get to, but hopefully by Monday we'll be ice free. Maybe we'll see, and be able to be on the air with you along with Beaver. Hopefully we can get him back. Thank y'all for tuning